So welcome, Jessica.
Hello.
Thank you so much for agreeing to do this with me.
Absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
So I'd love, could you kick off by telling us what it is that you do that you love? Because I know there's loads in there.
Loads that I do that I love. So I coach people to see, I guess, the level of control they have over their lives and just how much influence they have and what they can change about their lives. And that probably sounds a bit woolly and a bit nebulous. More specifically than that, my ultimate passion, I guess, is helping women get back to work after they've had children, because confidence can be a really low ebb when a woman has spent so much time at home with a baby that they begin to doubt that they're able to do the things that they did before they had a child. And that inspired me to write the book, the banner you can see behind me. I wrote a book called Mother's Work, which came out last year. And excitingly today, I've just heard news from my publisher that we have an Italian publisher who's buying the rights. So it's going to be in Italian either this year or next year, which is fantastic.
Oh, wow.
And so I marry up work with children. Usually this one isn't around when I'm working, but I don't class this as working because I'm talking to you, Vanessa, which is just a treat and it's lovely. Yeah, so and I love what I do, and I always say to people that if you can find work that you would do, even if you weren't paid for it, then you know that you're winning in life, because the work is a beautiful end in itself that you just love to do. And I talk about, I would do what I do almost like osmosis, just like a plant very naturally sucks water from one cell to another. It's just my style. When I meet people, I'm sort of curious and interested, and I find that I'm just coaching naturally, and yeah, I get paid for it.
That's so cool.
Love it.
So what was your journey to kind of find this place?
Well, I suppose if I started right back down the track, which I think is relevant, I grew up in a household where my parents had divorced, and both my parents were very low on confidence, and socially were not particularly good. And I saw myself absorbing a lot of those traits, if you like. And I realised as a teenager that I had much more choice over how I wanted to be than I thought that. I think that some people think that they have. And I just began to look around and see people who had the kind of self-assuredness, a level of self-confidence that I guess I found attractive, and thought, well, how can I learn from that? What can I take from that? And I think probably in my early 20s, I began on this road of, okay, how do I build my confidence? And with some of the things that I did that I don't need to go into, not particularly interesting, my confidence grew. And I think with that, I thought, you know, I can make much more considered choices about what I do in my life. And I graduated with a really good degree in psychology from a good university, and took that onto a graduate training scheme with a bank in the City of London. And the money was good, and it was a good experience, a good thing to have on my CV. But ultimately, I didn't feel that all that I had to give was sort of well used in that workplace. And so I began to look around and think, okay, if I could start from scratch, what would I be doing? And it was very funny, because it was one Sunday night, Sunday lunchtime, when I was almost crying into my bowl of soup with was he my husband then? I don't think we were yet married then. And just saying, God, this is awful. I just feel like I'm not doing and using me to the best of my ability. And I sort of described what I wanted to do, and it was ever so funny. I was talking about I want to help people and work one-to-one with them, and other people are feeling frustrated and all of this other stuff. And the very next night, I kid you not, the Monday night, I was sitting down at home, lacing up my trainers to go out to netball training, and something came on the BBC One magazine programme, the equivalent of the Now One show, that was talking about this thing called life coaching. And it was near enough what I had just been describing, sort of not even, 24 hours earlier, crying into my leek and potato soup in frustration. And I thought, my God, that is it. And so I went and investigated straight away that week about life coaching. And so this was in 2003, so this was 9 years ago. And then the next year I started to do some life coach training, and realised actually, I think I was probably quite savvy, and thought, is there really a huge market for this?
Yeah.
I'm not sure there's a big enough market and people willing to pay the fees to cover the kind of earnings that I had at the bank. And at the same time, I met a company called the Mind Gym, who go into organisations and do sort of short sessions with people to help use your mind more effectively in the business space, basically non-technical soft skills training. And I thought if I could do some of that and do some of the coaching, then that would be brilliant, and I could sort of map my earnings gap. And that's what I've been doing for the last 8 years, and gradually become more refined in the way that I coach and the type of people that I attract and that I choose to work with, which tends to be women who are on the journey back to work, women who are making the transition into self-employment, and women who are perhaps stuck at one level in the organisation and want to go up to the next level but are not sure how. And I see my role as just challenging their thinking and getting them to look at all of the experiences that they've had so far, which makes them really able to take their next step. And it's very different to working with men, because women tend to undervalue the skills that they have. And I like to think that I bring that out, and I love what I do.
It's something that always comes across with you. And you and I had a separate conversation where I said you are the most positive person that I know. Like, seriously. And I'm curious, so like when you have those crappy days and you think, ugh, what is it that kind of keeps you going? Like, how do you rewire or refocus or?
Oh, gosh, okay, so there's probably a few things. I think one of the main things that I do is I run, okay? Not everybody is a runner. I know that you run. I find that if I go out running, it does a couple of things. It changes your physiology for a start, so it can put you in a different mental space because of the endorphins. It also gives you some time away from whatever it was that you were struggling with. So it gives you a different perspective, because you find that when you're running, you let go of the things that are in your head and focus on the environment around you. And when you come back, that break, coupled with the endorphins, puts you on a platform to see the world differently in a more positive place. So that's one thing. And I think the second thing, even if you don't like running, everyone can have a go at this, is just to look at how much control and influence you have in any given situation. And I always try and think, there must be something that I can do here. I have free will, so what can I do to make my life better, and the situation I'm in better? And there are things like, I can get on the phone to someone else who I know will pick me up, or I'll think about past successes that I've had. Hello, my darling. We're talking about positive things here. You're a positive ray of sunshine, aren't you? And I will cast my mind back over things that I've achieved. And again, that puts you in a resourceful place when you think, I did do that. In fact, I have this. Let me show you. This is my silver book, and I haven't written in it for ages, but this is my silver success book. And I stick things in here, not just successes, but happy times. And I thought when I started it years ago, I thought that'd be really good. If I have lows in my working life, I can go back to that and look at my successes. And I haven't looked at it for ages. I add to it, but I don't ever have to go back and jig it up. But that's there. If ever I thought, I can't do this, I go and revisit things. Don't worry. Yeah.
So if you were to meet someone that was in that place of, I don't think I have any free will, like you do meet people who are really stuck and they don't see the options. From where you are now, what advice would you give them?
Oh, they feel they don't have any free will.
So, like they want to do what they love, but, are just so immersed in what I don't want, it's really hard to see.
Okay, I think I'm a writer, and I think when you write things down, and again, there's this psychology that backs this up, when you write things down and see your thoughts in black and white, it's easier to challenge them. Yeah. I think when you get down all of the thoughts and feelings that you have. Another tool that I often use with clients when they feel like they don't have much choice in a situation, the choice that comes up a lot with the kind of clients I work with is, gosh, I'm earning a really good amount of money because I've been doing what I've been doing. It tends to be professional women that I work with. I've been doing what I've been doing for a number of years. I've at a certain salary level, and it would be very uncomfortable to give that up, or I can't make that move because I would lose all this money. So I kind of bring people's power back by getting them to think about making a choice. And actually, you can anyone can do absolutely anything they want. You just have to be prepared to trade off the choices that you make. So I would be earning a lot more now if I'd stayed on that trajectory with the bank. But I didn't want the other things that went with that choice.
Yes.
So when you go back to seeing that you always have a choice, I think that's so empowering. You have a choice about, if you start your own business, you have a choice about the kind of customers that you attract, the product that you sell, the way that you go about it, how many days a week you work. So I get people to think about just how much choice they do have, and then say, okay, so what choice do you want to make? And again, that makes you feel really powerful.
Yeah.
And so if you decide not to start your own business, but to stay in the sort of safe world of employment, you're making an active choice to do that.
Yes.
And I think it's incredibly empowering to think, okay, I'm choosing to stay in that work because actually I like all the things that go with it.
Yeah, and then I take accountability.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What strikes me in your story, Jessica, is just that you made that choice at a young age. You know, like as a teenager, you looked around and thought, I can choose to go with the flow, or actually I can consciously choose to do something different, which you did. And then that's authentically run through your career.
Yeah, and so I guess I'm not sure that you can teach people that. There was obviously something in my psyche that makes me that way, because I remember coming from a home of divorced parents, my mum didn't drive, low self-esteem, and I remember we went on holiday a couple of times, some long weekends with some friends to Butlins and all places, and we would go to Butlins for a few weekends. She's a single parent, so it was nice to go with a married couple, and they would drive, and we'd all go together. And I remember in the Butlins gift shop, I must have been about 9 or 10 maybe, I picked out a keyring that I still have, it's downstairs on my keyring, that says, "Enjoy!" exclamation mark. Life is not a dress rehearsal.
Yeah, God.
That's typically what a 9 or 10-year-old would buy, is it? They buy maybe a Mickey Mouse keyring or something else. But that really appealed to me. And so I guess there's always been something in me which I was just born that way, maybe. And I don't like to say that easy, I was just born that way, because it's very easy for people to say then, oh, it's okay for you.
Yeah.
But it still work for me to do. I have to choose every day to live that attitude and see my level of responsibility in the world. You know, it doesn't come easily. It'd be far easier to stay in bed, wouldn't it, and go, woe is me on difficult days, but I don't. I don't.
And that's what's really inspiring, you know, it really is inspiring, particularly when you're working with women who go through that stage of everything changes in their world, you know, so you have children and it does throw up a lot, so it's really great that you're doing what you're doing.
You're a honey.
Oh, nah.
I love that you're doing this, and you're giving people a platform to talk about their stories, and then other people can listen and take what they like. Someone listening to this might think, what a load of rubbish, or who is she? But someone else might listen and go, you know, I get that, or I can take this bit. And I think it's wonderful that you're doing that for other people. You're giving all of that to the world.
You. And so, Jessica, if people wanted to connect with you, how would they do that? So I know you've got the book.
Yeah, so there's the book. That's all good bookshops. I'm on Twitter. I'm Jess Chivers, although I'm very definitely Jessica, not Jess, but Jessica had gone on Twitter. So I'm Jess Chivers on Twitter. You find me at my website, which is jessicachivers.com. You know, my phone number is on the website.
Cool.
Any which way. And you can sign up for my newsletter.
Excellent. Excellent. So much, Jessica.
Thank you for having me. Delighted.
You're welcome.